and welcome to the special review of 2016, the year in which the Christian Institute marked its 25th anniversary. In January, a report from MPs on the Women and Equalities Committee advocated self-declaration of gender and gender-neutral passports. Our Deputy Director for Public Affairs responded by saying that MPs must stop trying to force people to agree with transsexualism. Later in the month, MPs from across the political spectrum urged the government to bury plans to inspect Sunday schools. During a Westminster Hall debate, a number of MPs raised concerns that plans to regulate out-of-school settings were unlawful, unworkable, badly thought through and hopelessly broad. February saw a dramatic intervention in the Ashes case by Northern Ireland Attorney General John Larkin. The Ashes appeal hearing was adjourned after Mr Larkin said the laws used against the bakery could fall foul of Northern Ireland's constitutional law. Also in the province, MLAs voted down proposals to liberalise the law on abortion in cases of fatal fetal abnormality and sexual crime. In England, a Times investigation revealed the devastating extent of gambling addiction across the UK, and the Queen spoke of her thankfulness to God for his steadfast love in a book celebrating her 90th birthday. In March, MPs voted by 317 to 286 to reject proposals for extended Sunday shopping hours in England and Wales. Then Prime Minister David Cameron described the Scottish Government's plan to assign a state guardian to every child as absurd, and the Institute was featured at some length in a BBC documentary entitled The Battle for Christianity. It also highlighted a number of prominent cases supported by the Legal Defence Fund. During April, concerns over government plans to register and inspect Sunday schools came to a head, prompting Christian charities to unite in opposition. A joint statement by the Christian Institute, CARE Christian Concern, Evangelical Alliance and Lawyers Christian Fellowship called for the government to scrap the controversial proposals. At the time, Director of the Institute Colin Hart said that the freedom to proclaim the gospel and indeed our wider civil liberties must be protected, not undermined, in the name of counter-extremism. In May, Asher's Baking Company was in the Court of Appeal in Belfast. The MacArthur family, who own and run Asher's, appealed against a 2015 ruling which said they'd broken discrimination law by declining to decorate a cake with a pro-gay marriage campaign slogan. In the Queen's speech, it was announced that legislation would be introduced to tackle extremism in all its forms. During a debate later in the month, two MPs questioned why the government had not categorically ruled out plans to investigate church youth work. And on the 26th of May, a blanket ban on legal highs came into force across the UK. In June, a poll by the Daily Mail found almost two-thirds of Scots to be against the named person scheme, while a senior council leader slammed it as intrusive nonsense. And there was more encouraging news as doctors at the British Medical Association's annual meeting voted to maintain their opposition to assisted suicide. In Wales, it was announced that parents would be consulted on plans to ban smacking by removing the defence of reasonable chastisement. On the 28th of July, the UK Supreme Court handed down its historic decision against the named person scheme, vindicating a judicial review by the Institute and others. Judges ruled that central provisions in the scheme were unlawful and said it breached Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights. New named person legislation may still be put forward, but thanks to the Supreme Court ruling, it would be impossible for it to operate in the way the Scottish Government originally wanted. Earlier in the month, the Joint Committee on Human Rights said it was none the wiser about government counter-extremism plans after a Home Office minister appeared in front of MPs and peers. Karen Bradley failed to give specific details on multiple issues and offered no fewer than 10 definitions of extremism. With August came the sad news that bed and breakfast owner Peter Bull had passed away. In 2013, Peter and his wife Hazel Murray were ordered to pay damages of £3,600 to a same-sex couple for declining to provide them with a double room. Their faithful stand won support from Christians across the world. At the beginning of September, the Scottish Government announced that its flagship named person legislation would be substantially revised. Deputy First Minister John Swinney said the plans would be delayed by at least a year, an acknowledgement of the time required to undertake a wholesale rewriting of the law. September also saw the BBC come under heavy fire for promoting transsexualism. A writer for The Times slammed a Radio 4 presenter for condoning radical gender ideology in the lives of children. In October, the ramifications of the Institute's legal victory against the named person scheme continued to be felt when the Scottish Government was forced to withdraw key guidance. The Information Commissioner's Office, which is responsible for data protection, asked that guidance from 2013 be removed from the government's website. At the end of the month, the long-awaited result of Asher's Baking Company's appeal was announced by the Court of Appeal in Belfast. Judges told Asher's that it had discriminated by declining to decorate a cake with the slogan "Support Gay Marriage." The judgment prompted criticism from mainstream media, with both The Telegraph and The Guardian warning that it endangered free speech. And gay rights campaigner Peter Tatchell called it a defeat for freedom of expression. October also saw the launch of our New Look website. In November, the UK Supreme Court said the Scottish Government had to pay the Christian Institute's legal costs after its successful court action against the named person scheme. A poll found that nearly 70% of people back the right of a business like Asher's to decline an order which conflicts with its owner's conscience. The government announced that a new technique for screening unborn babies for Down syndrome will be rolled out by the NHS despite strong opposition. And the Prime Minister, Theresa May, said Christians should be able to speak about their faith in the workplace. She was speaking after the release of a report by the Equality and Human Rights Commission, which hit out at organisations that suppress Christianity for fear of causing offence. The report referenced several cases where believers were treated unjustly, including that of Institute client Adrian Smith. In December, the UK's fertility watchdog approved controversial procedures to create genetically modified babies with 3 or 4 parents. The Institute warned that problems may only emerge years down the line, as the techniques require the editing of the human germline. And finally, December also saw the release of a very special pro-life video after the Christian Institute went to visit the Harwood family in Huddersfield. In an exclusive interview, Colin and EJ Harwood shared the story of their daughter Shalom, who was born last year with a rare brain condition. She is alive because her parents rejected doctors' diagnosis at a 20-week scan that she was incompatible with life. Thank you for standing with us in 2016. Your prayers and support have made a vital difference. 2016 marked our 25th year, and we give thanks to God as we look back on His providence and protection over this time.